My brothers, Hugh and Bill Livingston, they started being taught here by Holy Cattell, and once they started, because I always did everything with my brothers, because we run 3 years running on, you know, and I got started as well. So that was back in 1957, I think I got started, down on the St Olaf. That's where I was taught, on the, well, it used to be the first hole in St Olaf. And I can always remember as well the tennis courts being here. There was 2 tennis courts here as well.
Well, this is my 68th season. I mean, coming here from my brother next to me and my uncle, and I would be maybe 9 or 10, and I got to walk around with them. Didn't get to play, but I got to walk around with them. And that would have been in the 1950s, you see. I mind when Sandy Simmers drove the first bar from the open St Olaf. That was in the 60s. But I can't mind recht about it. But I mind JDT's father was his caddy, and he went and picked up his bar. And I think, which was all going for it, I think he got a £1 because he gave him back a bar. Now, £1 was a lot of money at that time of day.
As I say, I was born in 1936. My brother was born in New Year 39.
Okay.
Now I think it was probably the summer of 39 when I was just 3, but I was 4 come October.
Yeah.
That my father took me out golfing with my sister.
Brilliant.
Because across the road from us lived Willie Cadell and his wife and son Roy. Willie made me remember. I don't remember. Anyway, so, okay, I got with my sister, not I remember much about it at all. The thing I most remember is the bleeding sheep on the golf course. I was terrified of it. My father always had a dog, and these damned sheep, of course, would stop and stare at the dog. And of course, the kid, I thought they were staring at me, you know, I hated them, especially up the top of Hockler. There always seemed to be a lot of sheep up the top of Hockler. I hated it. Which incidentally, 10th was my favourite hole, because I thought my ball was going for a mile. Just went to the bottom of the hill. Yeah. But when it hit it, God, I thought I was going to reach the button. I loved that hole. So I always wanted to go up there and play there.
You know,
my earliest memory of Cruden Bay was coming out to stay when it was the old caravan site and the old clubhouse. And there was a chap called Bill Mackay used to encourage all the juniors to play, and we used to have a fun 9 holes, mixed foursomes. And then we would have a barbecue afterwards, and he'd have some prizes and things for us. Great fun in the old days. That was probably about 55 years ago, nearly 60 years ago. Good fun. And I think in those days as well, every day you trekked over to the beach from the caravan site. I don't know if we were hardier as kids or whether the weather was better, but every day across to the beach, playing on the beach. It wasn't just the golf course, there was a beach as well. People that were at the caravan site, there was the Manson family, that was Sandy Manson. There was the Pettigrew family, Billy Gray's wife Gillian, who died sadly many years ago now. There was the Foreman family, there were the Davidson family. There was a lot of people who are still associated with the golf club.
My earliest memory was meeting Jock Smith, who was a member of the club. He regaled many a story of how his stepfather, John Glennie, together with a group of businessmen led by Quentin Murray, managed to save the club in 1951. They worked well into the night, with a lot of drink, I believe, and they came up with a deal to purchase the golf course, originally owned by the Great North of Scotland Railway Company, for the grand sum of £2,750, which they raised the money themselves to enable the golf club to finance the deal. The golf club would not be here today if it wasn't for them. And also John Glennie is quite well known as the person who created the standard scratch score, which was in operation, or has been in operation since 1964 worldwide.
Yeah, my earliest memories of Cruden Bay Golf Club are I was a member when I was sort of 5 years old. We used to benefit from the junior coaching. There was lots of parents, the pros, Harry Bannerman, led by Harry Bannerman, my granda, Ali Phillips, and then lots of parents, Peter Henry, Alan Buchan, that played a big part in shaping the junior section at the time. There was lots of top players, from players that went on to play European Tour, international players, right down to young beginners. And then at the weekends, they used to always have all the juniors together, hitting balls on a Saturday morning, whether it was outside in the practice grounds or whether it was inside, you know, up against the curtains with airflow balls. So I think that's probably my earliest kind of memory of being a junior at Cruden Bay.
Well, there were several characters. Some people who stand out for me at the time were Peter Henry, Ali Phillips, Alan Buchan, my own dad, John Imla, all really, really supportive of the juniors, and a real family feel to the club.
Well, my earliest memory was of Christine Middleton's dad, A.A. Allen, who was secretary of the club at the time, and he was the man that treated every single person alike. It didn't matter who it was, whether they were visitors, whether they were members. He called a spade a spade. And the other earliest memory was meeting Harry Bannerman, the famous Harry Bannerman, who was the club professional at the time.
And Roy McClay, he was the starter. He'd one hand. Lost his arm in the first, lost his hand in the first World War. Roy McClay, he was a character. It was, if he was earlier for your time, he didn't get out for your time. Boom, what you doing? Wait.
We had a visit from Tom Watson. And I do remember that morning very well. I was in the office, and he came in behind the reception and he said, "Good morning, Rosemary Pittendrich." And I said, "Oh, good morning." He says, "Have I said that correctly?" And I said, "Yes, you have." He says, "Well, I trained all evening with Stuart Spence to learn to pronounce your name." And then John and Julie walked all the way around with him. And then he presented Julie with the golf ball that he played with on the 18th. It was great because not many people knew he was coming. We did get a heads up, but it wasn't publicised, so there wasn't crowds of folk, and he thoroughly enjoyed it. Unfortunately, it was quite a calm day, so it wasn't too much of a test for him, but he would probably be the most memorable for me.
Oh, well, I used to cut all the greens with the overgreen. We used to walk a hen at. And then that was one of my juniors where he just made the tractor. And I did cut on the greens. And of course, I ended up, we got the Ransom's mowers in.
Yeah.
And it was something great. You sat in there and just get. But I maintained all that all the time. Like green, it was just that thing you walk at. You did 3 mowers, the Ransom's mowers, and you put them on at wheels and get through one green to the next. You do it on a Sunday morning, a 4 golfers catch the 9-hole course. Some of them in the white bar, you see, and then you could back at that. Well, we took in a little course, you see, a little course was just wild, and we took it in, interested in as a course again. And really, well, it was changed. There was a bit of change going on there.
Okay.
And there was 1 or 2 degrees with they did off high beds and they were easier cut.
Yeah.
And you leveled them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The worst thing of all was the force there. But off a job, you just did AY with your cut on moors at your head, getting some of the moors you had. You're better with all surface moors.
Johnny Sangster, he was a greenkeeper here, and apparently Johnny was cutting the tees one day, and he was going along cutting the tees, and as he's going along the tee, he sneezed, and his teeth fell out, and they went through the moor.
That's right. Yeah.
Reflect back in my time here, Farah Putting Green is, there was 2 tennis courts. They were knocked down and that became a car park. So it was near clubhouse. I was out. Come off the course and take out the Reed House to get a bottle of beer. There was near clubhouse, nothing. And then we got a shack put up, which was an apology. But see, we run the market for all these visitors that are now, we've got money so that we can get contractors to do whatever we want. So we've come a long way in a short time.
Well, this, for a start, I mean, this was just magnificent compared to the little hut we had downstairs. And of course it's changed, of course. So I sat down and I can't understand these changes just now. I was looking out the window and I thought, where's the first? What's the first and what's the 18th? I mean, there's a whole lot of sand in the middle. Lots of changes in the course. I'm disappointed when the caravans went. But, well, you've got all these houses now.
I think one of the things that should be noted is the fact that in 1973 Alan Middleton took on as secretary and manager of this club, and it was really required. The club was successful. It had a very traumatic experience to go through because they wanted to build a clubhouse, which they did successfully in the 60s, but then that had to be paid for, which it eventually was, etc., etc. And he served his club well. That carried on until he decided it was retirement for him, and Ian McPherson took over. And that was a huge step, because Ian took over at the time of the start of the oil boom in Cruden Bay in the northeast of Scotland. And because he was able to speak fluently in several languages, he could converse with anyone that turned up in the course. Because if he couldn't speak English, he could speak French, German, Spanish, you name it. His untimely death was quite a shock to this club.
Yeah.
And a great, great loss. That, of course, was followed by the colonel, who was only here for about a year.
That's right.
He wasn't very well, and he backed in, and then at that point, Robbie took over.
Robbie.
And that was a good step.
Yeah.
There have also been excellent steps in the management structure as well, because Rosemary, though she won't say it, put this place on a proper footing book-wise. That was followed up by Les, who again knew what he was doing because of his accountancy ability. Robbie, in between the two of them, had the benefit of Rosemary's experience, but also had all the contacts which built the visiting section up massively. And from that platform, this club has just blossomed.
change within the club during my time as a member here has been the handicapping system. I was match and handicap secretary for a number of years, and I remember when I first started that it was on the computer. It wasn't manually, but I had to put the scores into the computer, and I had to do them on a Saturday night. I was here till maybe 10, 11 o'clock on a Saturday night to make sure that everybody's handicap was correct for playing the competition on Sunday. Now everything's all done on the mobile phone. Mobile phones, when they first came out, you weren't allowed to use them on the golf course. Now you have to have one to be able to put your scores in. That to me is the biggest change in the club itself.
I think the biggest change within the club is the amount of visitors that we have nowadays. It's lovely to see all these people enjoying our course, and because I work behind the bar at the golf club as well, it's really nice to meet all these people. You meet some lovely people, whether they be Scandinavians, Americans, Canadians. They're all lovely, and it's a great honour to share our golf club with them all.
Old Warson Country Club, St Louis. With an upside down horseshoe, with 40 metres high, and it just said the gateway to the west. Remember that? Old Warson Country Club, St Louis. They didn't call it St Louis, they called it St Louis, Missouri. And of course, Arnold Palmer. I played Arnold Palmer, and all the folk were watching real much because he was the man. And I said, that boys are playing, is nobody watching?
Yeah.
Which is a true story, you know. And Peter and I, Bernie Gallagher and I, we played Billy Casper and his partner, and we beat him. I foursomes, alternate shots.
Yeah.
With Bernie, and Bernie wasn't good half a day, but terrific shot game. But he had great self-confidence. And we beat that Billy Casper and his partner. We tried Jack and Annie, Peter and I, and all square coming up the last hole. And that's Jack Nicholas. For here, near to that window through there, and he held it. I jumped in the air, threw his putt on the ground. The crowd gone wild, and I beat us one up. And his partner was Arnie. I played one against Arnie.
Okay.
8th hole, and a 4-iron, pin back right, and as a tree, right straight in line with where I went to hit a bat. So I hit a high fade, and it was just something else. It pitched that for the hole, bounced out and back, and it was that for the hole. And that's a shot. I can picture it in my mind, even right now. And setting the ball forward, outside, up, towering fade. Like a real golf shot. I was 1 up and 1 to play. Lost the last hole. That was it. That hooky drive cost me.
Yes, and it was carried for the chairman of Michael Course.
Okay.
He was very good as well. And a couple of days after, I received a parcel and a Michael Course leather handbag. It was absolutely fantastic. Yes, as I say, I've met quite a lot of nice, very nice people.
I've got a lovely
Very
story
nice
to tell you about my father from 100 years ago. When the Middleton family used to rent a house in Cruden Bay to come out for the whole of the summer. And it was in the days, I'm talking about my father being born in 1918. And as about a 5 and 6 year old, they used to take the train out to Cruden Bay. He had 4 siblings. They used to go down and play golf all the time. It turned out that they were all good golfers. My father was a runner-up in the British Boys Championship when he was a 17-year-old at Royal Aberdeen. And he used to talk about going out onto the golf course, the 5 of them, and when it was meal time, his mother used to stand on the top of the steps at Viewmount, just 2 doors away from the Red House Hotel, blow a whistle, and that was a sign that tea was ready, and in they would run off the golf course. But they would spend all day, every day on the golf course.
Family club, that's the important word, a family club. Yeah, because I mean the kids played, everybody played, you know? I mean, you have probably heard me speaking to Harry Bannerman. I mean, we would be sitting in a clubhouse, maybe after our mixed foursomes, and you look out there, and there were about naked 24 kids playing golf. All the boys and the girls playing 2-ball, you know?
Speaking about when I was getting a handbag for the boy, I got a letter for a solicitor, and I mind his name now. I was quite carried in it, you see. And his brother was something wrong with his legs and he couldn't walk very well. And we organised the buggy to take him up a hill. And we got a letter for him thanking us for what we did for his brother, because it made his day. And he wasn't able to play golf much yet.
I used to play golf with Vivian Stevenson, who was the dentist in Peterhead. And after we'd been members for a short time, we decided we'd have a go at the medal competition. And Lynn Terry would be horrified at this story. We set off on the first hole of the St Olaf very enthusiastically, and we played the first hole, and we played the second hole, and we decided that our score was absolutely appalling. So we would start again. We walked across to the first tee and started the competition all over again. We didn't play very well for the rest of the competition. Fortunately, we didn't win, or there might have been some questions asked. But that was our experience, and we are sticking by it. But I think that my knowledge of the rules of golf have improved since then, fortunately.